and Mashale, they wrote these things, the bulk of them last year. And I did have a discussion with the National Commissioner about them, and I think they wrote letters to the Portfolio Committee last year already. And remember that I also said about Mashale, I even referred some matters, her profile to the IGI to say, I keep on getting correspondence from this lady shortly after I got appointed. So I was aware, and National Commissioner did say, oh, now this lady I'm aware about, she has also shared things with me, but she complains, and we look at what she's complaining about and so on. So I was aware of all these things including, I was aware, and the department, National Commissioner, would have been aware of all these things. I may not have shared everything but with him, but they were aware of them. That includes my main reason, my argument that we may be dealing with something that is outside the PFMA at the end of the day, as I advanced yesterday.
Well, I'll put it to you, and I don't want to debate it any further. The record will speak for itself. That's certainly not the impression we got from the evidence of the National Commissioner.
No, it's...
He said the sum total of his evidence on the directive is that this came as a huge surprise to him. It was never discussed with him. The last time he saw you and you saw him was at, I think it was a parade on the 28th of December, or 28th of December. Sorry, it was apparently, I'm corrected, a funeral. On the 28th of December, you were there. I think it was in KZN, Mkhwanazi was also there. And this, it would seem, would have been a perfect opportunity for you to say to them, although it's obviously not appropriate perhaps at a funeral, but to go aside afterwards or whenever to say, gentlemen, I've been grappling with this thing. I've received all these complaints. I've received these letters from the Haas and Mashale. I mentioned it to you in the November meeting, and I am now quite convinced that this team should be disestablished.
Now, that was National Commissioner's evidence. I'm here to give my evidence.
Yeah, sure.
And that is not what I'm saying. I am saying after the 28th, I got more time when I got home to complete what I was developing. In those 2 or 3 days after resting and not going up and down, and I started summarizing in my head and getting to think what I would settle with finally, which then gave rise to me writing that letter on the 31st. I may have on the 28th or before, and you don't normally go to a funeral and then pull people aside. That's unnatural. It can happen only on post-thinking. That you could have pulled people aside, but natural in the flow of things, it doesn't flow like that. But I'm saying there were a number of things that were in my head for quite some time after our meeting on the 21st with deputy ministers, how to approach, how to package, how to engage the National Commissioner. So I had not completed my thinking by that time until I settled down and thought carefully about what I wanted to do.
Well, even more so, Minister, with respect, I mean, you could have at least mentioned to...
Honorable Matthews.
Thank you. Just on a question of clarity, Minister, did you say you engaged the deputy ministers, both of them, during that time, or did I mishear you? You said there was 2 days. I heard you say something about deputy ministers. Can I just get clarity, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm speaking about a day when I convened a meeting with the two deputy ministers to discuss what we had been receiving since we got appointed, in what form and what we had done about some of the things that we received, and so on. We had a discussion, and the resolution there said, go and engage the National Commissioner. But we didn't discuss the format and the details. So it was left to me to think what I would engage him on and how and all of that. And this is what I say. I ended up with the letter of the 31st.
As I was about to say, Minister, even more so on the 28th, it may not have been an appropriate moment to discuss the demise of the PKTT when you just buried one of your soldiers.
Senior Counsel, there is a hand of Honorable Nomvalo behind.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I just want to have a clear understanding of the response that has been given by the Minister to the question about the reasons. Is the Minister saying the Commissioner was aware that part of the reasons that led to the disbandments is what was written by Mary Diaz? Or he says the Commissioner was aware that Mary Diaz had written something like that, but he was not aware that that which she wrote was not part of the reasons that led to the disbandment. Because knowing that Mary Diaz had a perspective and that her perspective is constituted the reasons for the disbandment are two different things. So I just need a clear distinction on that. What response is he giving to the council? Was he aware of the perspective, or he was aware that the perspective of Mary Diaz formed part of the reasons for the disbandment? What was the response? I just need clarity on that.
Minister.
Thank you very much. I am saying when I settled down in those 2 or 3 days, I brought back everything that I had come across since I had been appointed. What do I do with these things? Because I had to weigh them and say, what do I do with them in order? Remember, at the top of my mind is the imperatives of the 7th administration. It is the safety of the people. It is the concerns that I raised with the National Commissioner, Deputy National Commissioners, and Provincial Commissioners in November, when we met them at Give a Screw On, saying, I'm being haunted by murders, the high rate of murders, the proliferation of firearms in communities and the havoc that these firearms are causing, and the drugs that these things are causing. So I kept on thinking about these matters very, very hard and very, very to the best of my ability in terms of thinking. And I then say, settle down. What do I do with all these things that I've collected in my capacity as Minister of Police on behalf of the people of South Africa? I then Mary Diaz's letters and concerns, Mashale's letters and concerns and everything, the budget, how we are using the budget, and possible alternatives of using the budget. The work within SAPS that started way before I arrived and what could have been done and so on. All that bundle of things constituted what I settled down on and said, let me write a letter and it must take this particular form. And I did indicate yesterday that one of the things that came into my mind was to say, when the year starts, how do we start in a manner that brings about vibrancy along the lines that constitute expectations of the people on us, in a way that will cause us and force us to, engage. And this thing is about change. How do you go about changing some of the narratives that should change within SAPS in favor of the people of South Africa, consolidating their safety? That is the matter. That was not just anything that Merit Haas wrote, but how do I bring all those things as a collective so that they are put in a manner that constitute my reasons when we met. So this is just a high-level summary on the two issues, but the breakdown of those matters is what I have submitted here.
Are you fine, Honorable Member?
Not really, Chair, but I think as it continues, maybe I'll be fine.
Okay.
But I'm not fine.
Just carry the question on your shoulder. And at the right time, you can offload it. Senior Counsel, you may proceed.
Minister, all these things weighed heavily on your mind. All these factors, you say, they weighed heavily on your mind. All these factors, not just the two that's mentioned in your letter.
Yes, all these matters, they constitute the actual material things behind those two sentences that you see, or one sentence that you see in those two terms.
Okay, so you don't record that in the letter to say to the National Commissioner, there's a host of issues that weigh heavily on my mind and that concern me. But in summary, I've concluded that the team is no longer needed because it's not adding any value to policing in South Africa. At least one leaves it open-ended for you to come back and say, okay, what were these things that weighed heavily in your mind? We don't get that impression from your letter. Now, we discussed the letter yesterday, and you spent quite a bit of time explaining yourself. So and you also accepted that you could have phrased the letter differently.
Not necessarily. You remember, you went a long way yesterday on the tone of the letter yourself, and you even suggested.
And you agreed that you may have.
Let me finish. You suggested a particular format to me, which was the same thing but in a different tone, and I said to you, well, you are putting that in the way you are putting. And then I said, Singakalisana, I could accept that that could have been a different tone, but it doesn't change anything in terms of the content of what I wanted to convey to the National Commissioner, except that the tone could have been softer. But not that there's anything wrong with my letter legally and constitutionally, and in terms of what I wanted to convey.
And you say you accept full responsibility for this, what's in the letter and the directive that you issued?
I don't want to leave any doubt in terms of who wrote the letter and why was the letter written. I therefore take full responsibility.
No, that's exactly why you're here.
Yes.
Because the committee is holding you to account.
Even assure you that I was sober when I wrote this letter.
I don't think anybody ever suggested that you were not.
Yes.
Although it's that time of the year.
Yes.
That I can't quite remember what.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we never suggested that, you're a minister of state, and we expect you to be of sober mind.
Yes.
Especially over this period when you're Minister of Police, when there's lots of
Yes.
tragedy and killings and so on. So that's fair comment, and I don't think anybody suggests anything else.
Yes.
Maybe the tone would have been different had you had a couple. Yeah. So anyway, on a more serious note, is it also evidence that you were not assisted at all with this letter? There was no one else who did a draft, or did I recall you saying that you your advisor may have assisted?
Yes, in terms of contribution to the letter substance, it was me and Advocate Pikole.
Okay.
And then the Chief of Staff was merely conveying, not contributing in any manner on the wording and on any other aspect of the letter.
Okay.
It was just me and the special advisor.
Just you and mainly you and Advocate Pikole.
Advocate Pikole, yes.
Yeah. So when Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi tells us that Ngabindi told him that I think he mentioned quite a few drafts were exchanged. He was waiting for the final draft. Would he have referred to the exchange of drafts between you and Advocate Pikole?